Hello, I'm Richard Vobes, the Bald Explorer, and this is the second of my videos where I'm looking at the book Rambles Around Willow Farm, which was published before the Second World War, looking at farming techniques 100 years ago. And as I said in the previous video, this I think was aimed at children, and it's effectively a wander around a farm. And it's written in Old English, which is very charming. Sent in by one of my viewers, Erica. Thank you very much, Erica, for the idea. So I'm sitting by my fire on the cold, wintry day and going to read chapter 2. This chapter is entitled The Soil. We just finished breakfast at Willow Farm on a fine, bright morning towards the end of January. The breakfast room has 2 windows, one of which looks out on the lawn. The other is a small one by the fireplace, and from it we see the fold yard and the stables. This is convenient for Mr. Hammond because he can easily see what's going on in the yard. On the walls of the room are 2 or 3 pictures of favourite horses which the farmer used to ride. Over the mantelpiece is another picture. It shows us a very fine red cow standing on nice clean straw in a cowhouse. Near the cow is a new broom and also a bucket painted bright blue. The cow took first prize at a show many years ago. Mr. Hammond says that he must ride over to see a neighbour on business this morning. Mrs. Hammond is going to be busy in the kitchen, so we'll go out and see what we can learn about the farmer's fields. There's been a little frost in the night, but not enough to prevent the ploughs from getting to work. We cross the garden in front of the house, and a wicket gate in the iron railing lets us into a little meadow called Home Close. There are no animals in it this morning, so we'll go through a larger gate into Home Field, where William, the head waggoner, is ploughing. Before you can attend to anything else, I expect you'll want to look at the horses. There are 2 of them yoked abreast, that is, side by side. Captain is a very fine black horse, only 4 years old. Turpin, the brown horse, is older. I'm afraid that Captain will not be out on the farm for much longer, for I hear that Mr. Harvey, the horse dealer, wants to buy him. Horse dealers are always ready to buy very fine cart horses from farmers. They sell them again to brewers and railway companies who will give a high price for a big, strong horse to work in their heavy drays. A horse not so strong and as handsome as Captain is good enough for farm work, so I'm afraid he will soon go to some large town. Now that we've admired the horses and said good morning to William, I want you to have a look at the field itself, and I mean the ground on which we're standing. The plough was at work yesterday and the day before, and a good part of the field is ploughed. You see the difference between the land freshly ploughed and that which has not yet been touched. We're standing on the unploughed part of the field. It's quite hard, with hundreds of tiny footprints in it. These are the footprints of sheep. Swedes were grown in Homefield last year. They were not carted away in the autumn, but piled up in large heaps about the field. These heaps were then covered with earth to keep out the frost. Shepherd and his boy brought iron hurdles and made a pen in one corner of the field, close to a heap of Swedes. They drove some sheep into this pen. The heap was then uncovered, the Swedes were cleaned, chopped up in a machine and given to the sheep in troughs. When the first heap was finished, the pen was moved along the field to the next heap, and so on until the whole field was passed over and all the Swedes eaten. The sheep were in the field for several weeks. They trampled the surface with their little feet. They lay down on it at night and often during the day. That is why the soil is so hard and firm. Now, look at where the plough has been. There's a great difference here. It's been drawn through the ground by horses, tearing up the soil some inches deep and turning it almost completely over. Topsy-turvy, as we sometimes say. Each long line of soil that has been turned up lies in a ridge. Just after the plough has passed, the side of his ridge is smooth and damp. When it's been exposed to the sun and the wind for a few hours, it becomes drier and rougher. Tread on one of these ridges and your feet will sink in several inches. Pick up a handful. The soil crumbles into quite small pieces in your fingers. Your feet did not sink at all on the unploughed soil. As for picking up a handful, that would have been hard work. You would have needed a spade or a trowel with which to dig it out. The plough is the farmer's spade, and ploughing is the first step in making the soil ready for the crop. Captain and Turpin are just at the end of a furrow and have turned round ready to begin a new one. We will ask William, who is very good-natured, to wait a minute before saying, "See, Captain, see, Turpin," and to let us have a look at his plough. There are a great many different parts to a plough, and each has its proper name. I only want to show you a few of the most important parts. Fixed near the front of the plough and pointing almost straight down into the earth is something like the blade of a strong blunt knife. That is the coulter. Its work is to cut a narrow path through the hard ground so that the share, which comes close behind, can do its work. Behind the coulter and a little below it is the share. This is the sharp pointed piece of cast iron or steel which cuts into the soil. It's fixed in front of the breast or mould board. This breast is curved in shape and is larger behind than in front. The front of the plough has two wheels. Sometimes ploughs only have one wheel and some have none, but most ploughs have two, which makes them run easily. At the back of the plough are two handles with which William guides it. A plough is rather a difficult thing to describe, so here's a picture to help you understand it. Now, if Captain and Turpin will kindly go on, we shall see what happens. The coulter cuts its way through the soil as the plough moves forward. The sharp point of the share does the same, and a long slice of soil is forced against the breast. As this slice of soil reaches the back of the breast, the broad curved part turns it aside and over until it lies a foot or more away from where it was a moment ago. All across the field, the plough moves steadily and presently reaches the other side. Now look back. The strip of soil on which we stood before the plough has been turned over and away from its former place. What was once on the surface has been buried. What was once a few inches below has been brought to the top. And that's the end of chapter 2. As I say, originally obviously read or written for children, but I think what's interesting is because it is so almost simplistic, it gives us a really insight into that process of ploughing and other farm activities from over 100 years ago that would have been done for generation after generation. And it's amazing to think the changes in that time that has happened. Anyway, if you've enjoyed that and would like to hear more, there are plenty more chapters in here. The Rambles Around Willow Farm by Arthur O. Cooke, looking at all the different aspects. And we will do that in another video. But let me know, leave a comment. Don't forget to follow, like and subscribe. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you on the next one. What I can tell you is it's getting very hot now by the fire. Bye-bye.